from the Daily Mail. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield makes major U-turn following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. All right, there's a lot to break down to understand the severity of this story. So as you all know, the other day, early in the morning, we saw the CEO of the largest health insurer in the country get gunned down. 6:35, I think it was. And many people are saying it looks like it might have been a pro. New information has come out that a cryptic message was scrolled onto the casings of one of the rounds. In the video, you can see the guy is firing and then cycling the weapon and ejecting live rounds. And it does appear, now I've watched a couple more of these expert gun guy videos. They said, no, it looks like it's malfunctioning. I believe it was one of the live rounds, had a phrase scrawled on it. And it said, depose, deny, defend, which is similar to delay, deny, defend, the name of a book about how insurance companies are screwing people over. So it certainly seems like this is leaning more towards the ideological motivation. That being said, if this was just a hit, they'd want it to look like it was politically motivated to throw the scent off their trail. Now, what does that have to do with Blue Cross backtracking? This goes to Taylor Lorenz, a former Washington Post reporter. I mean, this is the corporate press here. She doesn't work there anymore. And she made a series of posts on social media, one in which she referenced Blue Cross specifically. This post said, Blue Cross Blue Shield in Connecticut, New York, and Missouri has declared it will no longer pay for anesthesia for the full length of some surgeries. If the procedure goes over a certain time, anesthesia will not be covered. And she responded that, I'm not going to read her quote, but she said that's why she and everyone else, she said, we want these executives, if you know what I mean. So she literally stated it. She then went on, I don't know if they actually have the full post. She then went on to actually post the image of the CEO of Blue Cross over another story asserting the same thing. That is to say, it looks like what could only look. These are veiled terroristic threats, to put it simply, and it worked. So I guess, wow, that's shocking and terrifying. The Daily Mail says Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield has reversed a policy change that would have seen them tie payments in some states to the length of a time a patient went under anesthesia. The insurance company was one of the largest health insurance companies in the country, backtracked on the move following widespread outcry. Or perhaps it was Taylor Lorenz saying that she wanted these people to die, making a long post about how many people want them to die, and then posting the image of the woman for everyone to see, while scores of leftists across social media are saying more, more, more. Maybe it's just terrorism.
It's definitely terrorism. It sets a horrible, horrible precedent. Obviously, I get it. If people are concerned for their safety, that makes perfect sense. But there are a lot of security companies out there. There's a lot of people that are in the business of protecting people.
But I was talking about this earlier. It doesn't matter. Security companies don't matter, right? So the issue with what they're doing with these threats, I'll explain it very simply. There was a security incident with me in Nashville. We were hanging out with John Rich on the show. I said, hey, let's go to your honky tonk and let's play a show. And he said, let's do it. And then we announced, it's going to be a big show. John Rich, country music star. I'll be there. I play music too. And someone showed up pretending to be security, asking about weird information. Whole thing got shut down. I said, screw these people. They're not going to scare me. I'm not going to be threatened out of doing a show. And I was told, Tim, there are children walking down the street. If a crazy person shows up with a weapon and there's a crossfire, these kids could get hurt. We can't do it. You cannot do this. So when these people put out these threats to these CEOs, it's not so simple to just say the CEOs can get security, because that CEO means they can't go out to a picnic with their kids at the park. They can't go on a boat ride. They can't go on a cruise, because one crazy person, like this guy targeting the CEO, it was early in the morning, but it's just New York. What if there are crowds? Mm-hmm. So they can have all security in the world and someone can show up and just unload into a crowd and then innocent people get hurt. The threats from these far leftists cannot be tolerated. I think Taylor Lorenz. Look, let me ask you guys. I mean, do you think Taylor Lorenz should face some kind of criminal or civil penalty for doing this?
I think so. And I think it's insane that she worked at both the Washington Post and the New York Times before that and was heralded as basically the go-to reporter for internet trends for at least 5 or 6 years. She was the person who put Kellyanne Conway's daughter into the spotlight and used a child to advance her liberal activism. And now she has tucked tail away from the corporate media and blame them, even though they're the ones who gave her a platform for, I guess, everything that's going wrong in politics. But it's absolutely disgusting. And we have seen the consequences of this type of rhetoric with what happened to Trump, right? I mean, it's a perfect analogy with the Butler rally, which you're talking about, Tim, because there was someone who died in the crowd because of that shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania. And there were other people there who were completely innocent, who had nothing to do with the president, who were injured. These types of threats, this type of behavior is not just relegated to the person that they want to target in their crosshairs. And it's the exact same type of connection that they make too, right? It's, well, this person is somehow directly responsible for my life being crap, and so I have to kill them in order to affect change rather than going through the normal democratic process, or in this case, if you're talking about corporations, boycotting or picketing or protesting or literally anything short of being physically violent.
I like that she exposes herself as being this bloodthirsty. I like seeing exactly how she feels, because this is, to me, an extension of the summer of violence, where their preferred language is violence, and that's how they want to affect policy. I think it's horrible, despicable. I think she's a gross human being.
You know, it's funny. I bet Washington Post, and where did you work? Did you work at the Atlantic?
I think that's right.
Did you work at New York Times?
It was
as well?
Atlantic, then New York Times, then Washington Post, I believe.
All the greatest
So she's been
ones.
everywhere, yeah.
I bet they regret hiring her.
Do you? I don't know. I think they like these people.
No. Like the story at Washington Post was that the veteran journalists were freaking out that they hired some millennial writer
Activist.
If she's even a millennial.
That's true.
We don't know her age.
True that. That's why she wears a
So
mask.
we have this
Allegedly
tweet.
50 years old.
Here's a tweet from Jarvis Best on X, who said, "I love Taylor Lorenz so much because she spends half her time wishing death on her enemies and the other half complaining about online bullying."
It's
So true.
Wow.
So true.
I mean, it's true. It's typical of the left, though. I mean, you hear like you referenced the Summer of Love, the idea that by any means necessary, which Tim's talked about, that's an actual organization. You know, by any means necessary. The idea that you have to respect a variety of tactics, I think, is what they say.
Diversity of tactics.
Diversity of tactics.
Yeah.
These are all things that are typical of the left. Violence is not actually something that comes from the right frequently, though it does happen. It's usually leftist violence. It's usually lower grade violence than right-leaning violence. Right-leaning violence is more about trying to actually cause damage, whereas leftist violence is frequently just trying to scare people and intimidate people, which they've effectively done.
To corporations, to politicians, through the Summer of Love. And then to connect that to what Tim's saying about collateral damage, look at the no-go zones that they were taking over. You know, kids were losing their lives. They were getting gunned down in these spots. Random people drove through and they were getting shot at.
This is tough for me because Taylor Lorenz didn't explicitly state on her page, "Hey, I want something to happen to this person."
Right.
And so I think the interpretation is clear. And the question is, do we tolerate Taylor Lorenz saying, hey, she has like this long explanation about why these executives are bad and everyone agrees. She then says she wants them dead, and then she posts a picture of another CEO. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like she didn't explicitly state something that should happen, and she's dancing on the line.
We can't set the precedent, I think, of
Arresting
damning
her?
or arresting her, you know. I think that's
tough,
tough.
man.
It is tough. It's because it's gruesome. It's ghoulish.
Maybe we have to consider the context around a CEO just got assassinated and then she did this. And that is where we say, hey, yeah, she is advocating for this. She wants it to happen.
Right.
I mean, look, when you literally say we want more of this and then post a photo, I think that's fair to argue that's
a threat to me.
Straight up.
Yeah, that's a threat.
When you say we want more of this, yeah.
Then I have to say, like, if, man, I guess.
Blue Cross feels the same way.
Absolutely.
They were like, this is a threat. We're going to reverse our policy.
I mean, they're saying because of an outcry, but imagine you're the CEO and you're like,
I mean,
look what just happened.
It was a crap policy to start, to be fair.
Oh, these places need some major change.
But hold on. I mean,
Not
this
like
is the
this.
challenge I have with it. We don't even know what the policy is other than some leftist said, here's my thoughts on it, and then advocated for murder.
I wanted to bring this up because I'm sort of reactionary. So when I hear everyone saying the same thing directionally about a policy, I'm like, okay, well, let's find out what the policy actually is. And I was looking at some community notes on X related to this. Shout out to community notes, by the way, amazing feature. But people were explaining that they were actually updating their standards for anesthesiology claims to the same standards that are employed by the CMS through Medicare and Medicaid. So they were actually going by the government's timelines for how long surgeries are supposed to last. And there's a cap on it for what Medicare and Medicaid will pay out based on those time limits. And because of the level of insurance fraud that apparently they were facing from anesthesiologists, which is apparently pretty common, that's why they changed the policy. So, I mean, far be it from me to defend a giant insurance company, but it seems like we weren't really being told all of the details about what exactly they were doing and why.
And Taylor's just celebrating the death.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we don't. There's so many reasons that United Health has issues, and we don't even know why he was killed. Right? Because there's he's got personal things going on, estranged from the wife. The investigation.
He's estranged from his wife?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
insider trading. He sold off, what was it, like 31% of his shares 11 days before the investigation went public. Made $15 million on it. So that's all weird. And then, but they're also in trouble a year or two ago for using AI that had a 90% error rate.
Ars Technica reported that.
There's a million different things going on.
90% error rate, and it delayed, denied.
Right.
You know. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.